Hey, it's the PC Gamer Show. This week we're looking back at 9 years of Terraria, and we're talking about some of our favorite GTA 5 mods. Make the game prettier and become a goose. Stick around.
Hey everybody, it's James with PC Gamer. Joining me is Wes Fenlon, and basically like our go-to Terraria expert. This guy knows the game inside and out. He's been playing it for almost 10 years straight.
Such an expert. 10,000 hours logged in Terraria.
No,
that's a lie.
This is
James, you've set me up
I know, I'm
to
sorry.
look like an utter fool.
This is one of those games that is kind of I think it is the game the sole game you played if you were of a certain age or in a certain place when it came out, or anytime along its current lifetime so far, because it is just a game with so much depth and increasing depth and complexities that it sort of just becomes like a home to, much like Minecraft is the lone game a lot of people play.
Kind of ridiculous depth in the same way as Minecraft, in that initially when Terraria came out, there was kind of some like light RPG stuff in there. Like you'd level up. There were some unique items. There were some bosses you would fight, but there wasn't a whole lot of that. It was mostly a 2D version of Minecraft in that you had this big randomly generated world to explore, and you would just go digging down through the world through different layers, and you'd find a jungle biome, and then you'd get down to lava, and there'd be different types of enemies down there, and eventually you would kind of get all these resources together and start just building more elaborate houses or bases or kind of whatever you wanted, right? So it was the kind of game where you could spend thousands of hours playing it if you really enjoyed the creative aspect of it and building a really elaborate city or whatever the heck you wanted to build. But then over the last 9 years that this game has now been out, they added so many updates that turned it into a game that today, like, I don't even recognize if I watch YouTube videos of people showing off like the later game bosses and stuff, where they're literally like flying through the air with magic swords, like spinning around them, fighting like a demonic pumpkin king. And I was like, this is so far removed from the game that I played back in 2011. But that's really cool that this game has had such a long life.
Yeah, it is certainly not when it launched, the 2D Minecraft clone that it was kind of accused of being at the start. Is something completely different and wholly unique, I think, in the PC gaming space. And we're talking about it today because it's done. This game is finished. Is that right?
It's done as a game like this can be, right? So yeah, they put out this past Saturday the 1.4 update Journey's End, which I think was actually announced at the PC Gaming Show last year.
I believe so,
if not announced, they like brought a trailer for it and like showed it off. So that was kind of a big deal at the time. And this is the final official update from the developers, and they are basically saying to the community, like, go forth now and do what you want with the game. They actually took the community mod loader that is used for the majority of Terraria's mods and got that like officially added to Steam. So via the mod loader, it's not there yet, but it'll have Steam Workshop support coming, I don't know, in the next couple months probably. And from there, you'll be able to now use the workshop to just load in mods instead of having to go through whatever external modding site to get that stuff. So it's definitely not the end for the game, but it's the end for development, at least in terms of new features. Like they're working on bug fixes and stuff like that.
Excuse me. And this happened. God, this game came out just for scale here in 2011.
May 16th, 2011.
Yeah.
So they put out the update almost to the day, I think.
Oh wow!
I guess it was to the day.
Yeah.
It was May 16th this year. 2020 was the final update.
Right on. And I don't know. Let's talk about because again, this is sort of an impenetrable thing, but something we want to, I don't want to say honor, but at least like recognize what is in this update. What does it represent for Terraria? Terraria. We talked about this morning. Is it Terraria?
Yeah,
Terraria?
I'm gonna say Terraria, and someone will be mad about it probably.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, it's a gigantic update. Like it's the kind of game where in the patch notes they can just say like over 1,000 new items, and you're just like, that seems like a lot of stuff. Yeah. They added like some new weapons within existing classes, like guns, bows, that kind of thing. Actually, I'm not sure if there's new bows, but there's at least new guns. They added a new class of weapons, which is whips. So there weren't previously whips in the game, which is kind of funny because they had like a armor set that made you look like Indiana Jones, and even had like sort of an Indiana Jones joke. And it's a game about digging for treasure, so it felt like they probably should have whips in there before, but hey, they got whips in there now, so that's a new thing.
Yeah.
A lot of really nice visual changes, like really nice backgrounds for the kind of just beyond the terrain, just give you these kind of nice skylines, new weather effects like hard rain and wind and stuff like that. That the game definitely, the world just feels a lot more like alive than it did when I played it. Like I remember, when I played it in 2011 when it came out, yeah, you'd have little like bunnies hopping around, some little color. Like it was a cute game, but it feels much more vibrant now than it did back then. They added a new difficulty mode, where everything is called master mode, where everything is going to hit you way, way harder, and it's the kind of thing you're going to play probably after you've played a shitload of this game and you've kind of exhausted the challenge of the lower difficulty modes. They added golf. It's like a whole golf feature.
Wait, what?
Yeah, like you can make your own golf courses and play golf in Terraria now, so that's pretty cool. But I think the biggest one overall is called Journey Mode, which I guess is kind of what the update is named after. And it's basically a creative mode that you can customize pretty extensively. So I think it was something that maybe players had wanted for a long time, where they're like, I don't really want to have to deal with fighting enemies and having zombies come attack my village in the middle of the night and like dealing with all this stuff. Like I just really like mining and like building really cool, castles and underground fortresses and houses for my villagers, whatever. But they didn't just make a mode that like disables combat. Gotcha. So Journey Mode basically gives you a bunch of tools to tweak stuff as you will. So like you can just turn on God mode if you create a Journey Mode thing, so you're invincible, right? But you can also at any time just pull up a little menu and switch the enemy difficulty along the sliding scale from Journey Mode difficulty, which is easier than normal, all the way up to Master Mode difficulty. So you can like just kind of customize it as you're playing. So maybe early game you're like, I want this to be really easy and just kind of focus on like exploring. And then maybe you get a bunch of armor and like cooler weapons and you're just crushing everything in like one hit. Then maybe you like crank it up to normal or even hard difficulty or something, and then you have more of a challenge, right? So it has a lot of flexibility in that regard. And then it lets you also like change the weather, change the time of day. The biggest thing probably is it has like an item duplication system. So once you get a certain number of different types of items for like actual equipment, it's just one piece. So like say you have a sword, just put this thing in the item, like research little function. It's not like a thing you have to build. It's just in your menu system for the Journey Mode. Just drag the sword in there, click a button, and then you can duplicate that item at will. So you can have infinite supply of that sword.
Oh, cool. And
then for like building materials like stone or wood or whatever, it usually takes like 100 pieces. So collect 100 pieces of stone. That's going to take you, 5 or 10 minutes mining maybe. Drag that in, duplicate it, and then you can just have infinite stone. So it's kind of a way to let people who want to build stuff still get a little bit of the adventuring aspect. Like you're still going to have to go down into mines to find, gold and tungsten and whatever rare minerals there are. But then once you get enough of those, you don't have to, every time you want to build something with that material, be like, well, guess I'm going to go spend an hour digging up a bunch of this stuff so that I can keep building with it. You can just have it, at the snap of your fingers.
I like that a lot, especially because, and I think it's a very smart update to cap the game off with, because it is a very, very, very big game. I mean, I hear things about like dozens of hours required to even reach something like the end game. But even there's like an end game beyond the end game, and different tiers of sort of difficulty and I don't know, like world resetting that you can do of some kind.
Totally. I honestly do not know how many how many stages of endgame there are,
Yeah.
but I think you're right that there's a few. And that's probably changed some over time
Sure.
too. I'm not super familiar with that. But yeah, I think it's a cool idea because you can, I mean, some people will go in there and they'll just like turn on God mode, right? Or they'll get killed by an enemy and they'll be like, oh, it's too hard, and they'll turn the difficulty down. But I like that those are all separate functions. It's not just tied to like you're playing journey mode, so it's easy. So you can say like, no, I want a challenge. I want enemies to kill me, all that stuff. But I also don't want to spend all of my time just mining for stuff. I want to
Farming,
do it a
if you
little
don't
bit
like farming, yeah.
and then be able to focus on building cool shit, right? So I think that's a really cool way of giving people those tools and then letting you, but they're basically saying to you like, use whichever ones you want. Use some of them, use most of them, use
Yeah.
one tool, and that's it. And just customize the game the way you want to play it.
I mean, when it comes to difficulty in games, which has been a heated topic over the last couple of years, I think I don't see why this to me is exemplary in the same way that Celeste was. It's just let me play it how I like, because Terraria is something that's always appealed to me, but it is so nuanced and multifaceted and features a lot of systems I just don't give a shit about. Crafting has never been, and farming for resources endlessly has never been my favorite part of this kind of 2D. And I say Metroidvania because a lot of people describe this as something like that. I like the exploration, and I like the venturing into a new space, not knowing how dangerous it's going to be. I do like difficulty. I like challenge. That is what I like being challenged by, is like by my own fear and like ability to sort of unpack a space and its threats in real time. So that's cool. That's cool. I don't have to like sit there and chop trees down for 100 years. I can just get straight to the skeletons with bows and shit.
I think too, they did a couple other smart things in that they made it so that you can't, so you can have, I believe you can have characters like separate from worlds. So you can take a character into different kind of games that you've created, different worlds you've generated, but they made journey mode characters exclusive to journey mode. So they've kind of sidestepped a potential community outcry where people who really care about the more difficult aspects of the game, they're not going to be upset that somebody can like in a multiplayer environment, even when it's cooperative, like it would kind of suck if you were playing on hard mode and you spent all this time getting to those later game aspects, like farming for those materials that are really hard to getting that really cool, like high level armor. And then somebody has just popped into journey mode and spent a few hours with God mode enabled, so they're invincible, just going and getting the best shit, and then like hopping over and being like, "Oh, that took you 80 hours. Like I did it in 10 minutes." So journey mode is totally separate. You can't cross over into these other modes.
Makes sense.
And I think that keeps the difficulty thing very much like, it's also not a temptation factor, right?
Yeah.
Like if you say, no, I want to create a master difficulty, master mode character, and I want to really play this hard game, but then if you had the journey mode tools there all the time, like if that was in every mode of the game, then maybe you get kind of tempted by, after the 5th time you've died, to go turn on God mode or lower the difficulty. So they've given people the choice. Like if you want to play the classic experience, that's still there. If you want to play this version where at any time you can stop it from being rainy or make yourself invincible, you have that option too.
Right on. Right on. Pretty fascinating. Any other big notes in this update? Any other big marquee features besides, as I'm looking here, cat? Cat is an addition to the game
Cat
now.
is an addition.
I guess there's a cat now. Very exciting.
I'm not well informed on the cat, but that is. I'll take your word for it that that's there.
I'm looking at the subreddit and people are very excited about the cat.
They did a lot of graphical tweaks to existing stuff, like just new sprites and icons and stuff for items. It just looks. It's the kind of thing that if you just were playing the game for the first time, you wouldn't really recognize, you wouldn't notice.
Yeah.
But if you have played a shitload of this game and you see a small sprite change to art that's frankly a lot better than what they had, 9 years ago,
Right.
Be like, oh, that looks really nice. Right. They did a block swapping ability. So like, say you built a house out of mud because you're at the beginning of the game and all you can get your hands on is dirt. And then hours later, you're like, I want to build this out of amethyst because I have a shitload of amethyst or something. You can like swap out the block type and just like build over it rather than having to tear your whole structure down and then rebuild it with new material. So I think that will be popular among people who really favor the building aspect.
Right on, right on. And in your attempt to, because it is such a daunting thing, in your attempt to sort of get into this game, or at least dive beneath the surface of it, how's it been? You've been enjoying yourself? You think it kind of stands up, or is this still a specific kind of game for a specific kind of person?
I think it's really fun. I think it's such a sandbox game that it's like a non-specific type of game for many people. You and I could each start playing this game independently and play it completely differently and get something very different out of it. I think the exploration stuff, even though I was pretty familiar with what was in the base game that launched all those years ago, it felt very, very different. It was kind of a weird mix of nostalgia and newness, right? Like, I boot up the game, the music is instantly familiar. I'm like, oh man, I spent a lot of time listening to this music a long time ago. But then I'm going down through layers of the jungle and I'm like encountering enemies I've never seen before. And I run into like a beehive that I start digging into and like honey's pouring out of it. And I find this thing like encased in amber and I'm like, what's this? And I like hit it with my pickaxe and then a giant queen bee boss bursts out of it and starts attacking me, which I was not prepared for. So it's got a lot of little surprises and just like layers of stuff that were not in there before, where it was a pretty, I don't want to say the world was empty because it always had enemies in it and it would have little, oh, here's like a treasure chest I found underground with some loot in it. It always had that kind of stuff, but it didn't have that many kind of special elements placed around the world in the early days. And now it just has so many layers of things that they've added over time that there's really a lot to discover, whether you're mainly just mining to get the parts you need to build stuff, or if you're all about that experience of exploring and just digging further and further through the world and progressing that way. So yeah, I think it holds up quite well.
Especially so, and you wrote about this recently, because Terraria has, as far as I know, it's always been $10. That has never changed, and every update has been free.
It's ridiculous. I mean, it was a $10 game when it came out. It was actually, it has a 4-pack option on Steam, which a lot of co-op games have. So it's actually like a $7.50 game if you buy it with some friends.
Yeah.
And yeah, they've released it on other platforms over the years. So it's on mobile, it's on the Switch now. I think it's on both PS4 and Xbox One. And those versions cost more, partially because they're, I don't know, they had to port it to console, a lot of costs involved in that. They have a publisher for that stuff. But the PC version has always been $10. They never charged for any of the updates. Like, I don't know why. Like, I'm not I'm not criticizing that. It's awesome, right?
Mhm.
But it feels like many of these updates that they put out for it over the years, they could have easily charged $5 for as an expansion pack.
Yeah, yeah.
And people would have happily paid for that because they're getting a bunch of new bosses and a bunch of new features and changes to the environment and new difficulty, like all that stuff. People buy expansions for World of Warcraft every couple years for, are they $50 for the new expansions?
40 to
40?
50. Yeah, I think
Something
so.
like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Plus you're paying a subscription fee, that kind of thing. Minecraft has increased its base price a little bit over the years. That's a game you can play forever for $30, which is a pretty good deal.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
Terraria is still $10. They never increased the price.
Yeah.
And I think they kind of made the decision at some point that if they just keep supporting the game, it will pay off for them in good word of mouth and with more people just continuing to buy it. And that seems to have proved out for them. It's still doing pretty well.
It's particularly anomalous to me because, and you brought this up, it feels like Terraria is that price point is an artifact of that era of $10 arcade games, like the XBLA price point, right? The Xbox Live Arcade price point. And if Terraria was released today, I can't imagine it being like $10. Games of this caliber, 20 to 30 nowadays. So that's especially fascinating.
And it's sort of a weird. I feel like the price of that we would expect a game to cost has almost like it went up after the release of Terraria, but I feel like it has either. It's not so much that it's gone back down as the context has changed a lot. Like at the time Terraria came out, there were maybe a couple hundred games coming out on Steam a year, or like maybe
So
even less than a couple hundred. Like it was a very different scene on Steam, right? And today there are, I don't know, 20 games coming out on Steam every day. When something costs $10, the mental association of what it contains is very different now than it was then. And there are still great games that are cheap, but they're usually not this kind of like sandboxy, sprawling thing, right? They're like a little 5-hour adventure pixel art game that somebody's made that's like it could be great, but it doesn't have the same expectations, you know? And it's really weird to think about. Yeah, this game costs $10, and like even at the time that was probably less than it should have cost. Like it probably should have been $20 or something.
Yeah,
could have been, but hey, it worked out pretty well for them. I mean, Stardew Valley, $15 on Steam, and that came out 5 years after Terraria. So that again probably could have been a $25 game, considering how much is in that game, right? But they went with $15, and sometimes the lower price ends up really really working out in the long run.
I want to look at. So I'm snooping your Steam profile right now and looking at your achievements, and I think out of context they are very funny because it just shows the breadth of. It says you've played something like 8 hours, 10 hours. The breadth of
just recently, right?
Yeah, things you can find. Yeah, recently played 8 hours. Excuse me. Things you can find. And I'm just gonna read some of these out of context because when I played Terraria, I think the last on Steam, this is the last time I played, was 2012 or so. It did feel like that Minecraft clone, which is a really reductive way to describe that game, even at the time, I think. Yeah, it was just flatter. You're doing the loop of harvesting, killing monsters, going deeper, getting money and new shit, and kind of very simple loop, very innocent, simple time. And now I'm gonna read some of these and in order maybe, because timber, chop down your first tree. Okay. Stop, hammer time, obtain your first hammer. Nice job, Wes. Nice job. Ooh, shiny. You got a first nugget of ore. Okay, things start getting a little stranger. Heartbreaker. Discover and smash your first heart crystal underground.
Yes, that's like, in Zelda, you get a heart crystal, increase your health bar, that kind of thing.
Like you said earlier, where's my honey? Discover a large bee's hive deep in the jungle. jungle is also a new concept to me. There's a shitload of biomes in Terraria now. Head in the clouds. Equip a pair of wings. Okay.
Which they just give you in journey mode, which is very nice.
Yeah, there's a bunch of these. Pretty in Pink, kill Pinky, whatever the hell that means. Jeepers Creepers, stumble into a spider cavern. Not into that.
Yeah, it was creepy.
Yeah, and you know, there's a ton, got all these achievements and so on that like kind of point to, like Slayer of Worlds is the name of an achievement here. Defeat every boss, and there's like 14 or so. It just doesn't. The game that I remember that came out does not signal this deep, wild, magical adventure into.
Totally. And
and
even some of the stuff is sort of funny to think about, like the ones you were calling out at the beginning, like chop down your first tree, and some other ones I'm looking at that I haven't gotten yet, like equip your first grappling hook. These are things that like I only got in the past few days because the last time I played Terraria, it just Steam didn't have achievements yet. At least I'm pretty sure Steam did not have achievements. Terraria didn't have achievements.
Yeah, a lot of games
at the very
didn't.
least.
Yeah, I mean, because same thing happened to me. I look like a scrub, Wes. My Half-Life 2 playtime is something like 2 hours, and I have no achievements. I played that game like 8, 9, 10 times.
I looked it up, and achievements did exist prior to. They existed in like 2010, but Terraria did not have achievements at launch.
Gotcha.
So, or at least somehow I didn't get any of those achievements in 2011. So I think they must not have had them at the time.
Wild.
So yeah, it's sort of weird to be like rewarded for cutting down a tree in Terraria. I'm like, come on, I did that 9 years ago. Give me some credit.
Yeah, sorry, I don't mean to reduce your or undermine what you've put into it so far. It's just
Steam has undermined me.
The
James,
steep
not you.
escalation of what happens in that game is just really fascinating to me, and it's actually why I'm installing it right now. Because that seems like a nice kind of, especially journey mode, seems like the kind of thing I can just kind of turn off my brain. And I don't typically put on a podcast, but maybe I'll just do journey mode, put on a podcast, and think around, see what happens.
It's a great co-op game to just invite some friends in to build some weird shit. When I wrote that article, I dug up a couple old images I had from playing it back in the day, and remembered that on our shared server, my friends and I were building like sprite art recreations of the Final Fantasy 1, like the fighter and the black mage, which are just these very simple little sprites. But we had to use I don't know if this still works. It probably does. But the game would basically let you infinitely duplicate liquid by, if you would like pour liquid over something, it would kind of like spill out into two directions or something like that. And that would just like infinitely duplicate instead of running out. And so we're like, okay, how do we get a bunch of red all over the screen to like cover something? So we basically built the sprite outline of the fighter from Final Fantasy 1 who just has red armor. And then we got a shitload of lava and dumped it in and made it like duplicate itself down in to fill up the whole sprite, just buckets and buckets of lava. And then we had a giant sprite hanging in the air. And like that probably took us a couple weeks of maybe not that long, a couple weekends anyway, to figure that out and build it. And that was just because we were like, well, we kind of have exhausted the stuff there is to do in the game, so let's just build something stupid for the hell of it. And now it's going to take a lot longer to exhaust the rest of the game before you start making stupid sprite art.
True. I'm real curious to see what these folks do next. You'll be talking to them soonish, yeah? Is that right, or am I?
I sent him some interview questions that I was hoping to get him on the podcast here or talk to him, and maybe we still will in a month or two. But they are in like hardcore bug fix mode right now. They put out the update, and obviously there's always little things that slip through the cracks. So they're like working on polishing up this last release. But I asked them what they're doing next. Don't think they're going to tell me, but you never know.
Terraria 2.
I hope it's something really different, because this game, you could make a Terraria 2 with way better graphics, kind of clean slate of world and mythology and stuff. But I feel like this game will still be popular in 10 years. There will still be people playing it, building cool stuff in it. I would love to just see the talent that went into making Terraria for the first time put into a totally different type of game.
Yeah, yeah. Clearly, these folks know how to layer systems and systems on systems over time and make something really cool and complex and accessible, which is pretty rad. It's pretty cool. I don't know, like time really fucking flies, but it's cool to see some of these early, I don't say early indie games because indie games have been around for a while, but like during the that real peak, again, the Xbox Live Arcade, like PCs are becoming more accessible and digital distribution and tools to make games sort of like blooming at the same time. It's cool to see some of those like early games that, if I looked at Terraria, if Terraria came out today, if Terraria 2011 came out today, I probably wouldn't give it a second look. But it's cool to see some of them sticking around and really becoming staple PC games. Like this is probably, for a lot of people, the best PC game ever made, and one of their favorite games of all time, undoubtedly. And I think, I haven't dove into it myself, but it's cool to see like the breadth of possibility in on the platform still, and like what kind of games the PC can just like support, and with varying audience sizes, varying niches, and still succeed. So, I mean, it's a different landscape now, but it's very nice.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the most played games on Steam, almost all of them are, there's indie games sprinkled throughout, but even the ones that could maybe qualify as indie, they're largely like pretty big graphically intensive games, like Dead by Daylight, for example. Behavior Interactive is kind of a big indie studio in Canada, but that's such a different scale of game from Terraria, and which was initially basically made by one person with some music by somebody else. And I'm not sure if the initial version maybe had a couple other artists who contributed to it, but it was close to a one person development in the way that not quite to the level of Stardew Valley, but close. But yeah, you look at the top 100 and like you see a few games in there like The Long Dark and Slay the Spire, Factorio, but almost no 2D games. 2D games are really rare to have this level of popularity, and very few of them are indie games. So it is really cool to have represented indie games, 2D games like this, like Stardew Valley, to see them break out and then stick around on that chart of the most played games for years and years and years. I mean, let's see, how many people on, I guess this isn't a perfect comparison because Borderlands is also on the Epic Store, but there are many, many times more people right now playing Terraria on Steam than Borderlands. There are more people playing Terraria than Civ 5, than PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds right now, than Rainbow Six Siege, than Monster Hunter World. Like a lot of those games, maybe you play them on another platform, whatever, but like there are at this moment almost 300,000 people playing this game that has been around for 9 years. So well done.
Yeah, good job, Relogic. Right on. Well, that was a very heartwarming conversation, and it actually, I'm gonna be popping in and playing this, which is not something I expected to do.
I apologize for making you feel a brief moment of happiness.
It could be the tacos that I ate before the show, working their magic still, but or at least like opening me up to positivity. But
those are taco tears. They're not regular tears.
Well, thanks, Wes. Always good to have you on. We'll bring you on. I don't know what else is happening this year. Is there anything else happening I guess it's the long summer of E3, so I'm sure we'll have your expertise back for some weird announcement along the way.
Who can predict?
Who can predict?
I don't know.
But up next we have Tyler Wilde joining me to talk about some of the best GTA 5 mods out there. GTA 5 was released for free on the Epic Store, so there's a lot of new folks coming into the game and a ton of mods to dig through that I think a lot of people need to know about. So let's hear about those. It's like a couple steps away from just wanting glass in your food, though. But,
That's true.
Let's just get going. Hey, I'm James. I'm back here with Tyler Wilde.
Hey, I'm here too.
Yeah.
I didn't go anywhere, but
No.
I haven't been on a podcast in a while, I think. So,
And we're happy to have you. I don't know if you've been on the podcast since we've broken it up like this. It's a brand new format. It's really disorienting. Don't worry, I got you. We'll be okay. We'll be okay. And I brought Tyler on here basically to just like talk GTA with me. We're just gonna talk about Grand Theft Auto, knock back a couple beers, just shoot the shit.
let's do it. Let's talk about Grand Theft Auto.
Specifically, we're gonna talk about Grand Theft Auto mods. So, mind-bogglingly, the deep pockets of Epic, and we're not gonna get political. Once again, have released a free game to the gamers of the world, and that game this last week was Grand Theft Auto 5, which is pretty wild.
Yeah, this week it's Civilization
Yeah, Civ 6, right? And
6.
these are not small like indie games. They're just tossing up there, kicking a couple bucks to the dev, making sure they're taken care of. These are big contenders.
Yeah, I think someone in our work chat was like, well, who doesn't already have that game? But you forget that people keep creating other human beings and they grow up over the years. And sometimes I forget how old I'm getting. And then I remember that there are people who, a few years ago, were like 12-year-olds who maybe weren't allowed to play GTA and now have never played any GTA perhaps, are now old enough to be going and claiming games on their own Epic account, or they're just not telling their parents, whatever the case. So yeah, there's a ton of kids who've never played GTA 5. There's a ton of kids who've never played any GTA. So people went for this one so much they broke the store there.
Yeah, it was down
a
for
little while.
most of the day there, and kicked off that sale. So yeah, amazing, pretty darn cool. If I was growing up or was like aging into PC gaming when this stuff was going on, I'd be losing my mind. Just free Grand Theft Auto. Don't even have to ask my dad.
We would be, because like that's wild. Like when I was growing up, like it was $60 or more for a game, and obviously I had to go to the store and get it. And there was just like there was shareware, but there was really no equivalent to just like, here's a huge. You just have this game for free. Like
Definitely
get it. I guess there were some demos that I just played forever. But other than that, Anyway, it's pretty wild.
Yeah, and so we have this audience for this game is blown up, and that's clear. Because the store was taken down. People are like looking at our cheats articles. The traffic for GTA across the entire internet is just shot through the roof. And so, people want to know about it. They want to know like what the PC can afford, specifically GTA 5, because it can afford some pretty cool novelties. One of those novelties, it's not really a novelty. It is a staple of PC gaming, is modding. And GTA 5 has probably one of the busiest mod scenes on PC these days, I think. I don't know if it's like busy today necessarily, but it's been constant and surprising since the game came out like 7 years ago.
Well, Rockstar's never officially supported modding, which is kind of funny, because it's like it's a PC gaming pastime at this point. Modding GTA games is like part of the hobby, in the same way like modding Skyrim became in the last decade. So
Definitely.
Yeah, the fact that they've never made, they haven't stopped people from doing it, obviously. But modding GTA an important part of the hobby, I think.
Absolutely. And a quick caveat: we're gonna recommend you a couple mods. There are hundreds of good mods. We've collected a lot of our favorites, a lot of sort of the best mods that we think represent different pillars of GTA, being like, vehicles, different kind of characters, playable characters, down to like how they play. There's, you can play the Hulk, you can be Iron Man. There's dozens and dozens of these. There are overhauls, both visually and in relation to how the game plays. And we're gonna go through just a couple that I think are a good. I don't know if these are like the best mods by any means, but these I think are some pretty good essential starters that'll, if you're new to GTA or just new to GTA modding, I think will make a nice little starter pack. We'll kind of give you a taste of everything that the scene has to offer, and maybe get you interested in it at large, and kick you off into the wild on your own. We do have a best mods article, and you can find that at pcgamer.com, which has these listed and broken down under each of those categories, and I think is an even better kind of starter pack if your interest sticks around. So, but let's just run through a couple. And Tyler, you haven't played all of these, but I think they are easy to. Some of them are just so apparently easy to understand that you don't even need to play them. They're just amusing inherently, and I think we can still make some good recommendations based on that.
Sure.
Let's begin. The first mod I want to talk about is, and I wrote about this yesterday. What is time these days?
That's correct. You did.
I did. Made a little video too. If you want to see it in action, is Natural Vision Evolved. And this is sort of like, I think if you like pushing your hardware to the limit, if you like pretty PC games, Natural Vision Evolved is kind of a must for GTA 5. What it does is it's a visual overhaul. It adds a bunch of changes, including, let's see here, screen space, ray traced global illumination, skylighting, rain reflections, changes to the environmental weather system, the lighting system, ambient colors, tone mapping, world textures, building models. Its goal is to capture the feeling and the look of Southern California more accurately. And GTA 5 came out, what, 2013?
Sorry. Oh yeah. That sounds right.
Yeah. And this, it's not going to be a night and day difference, but if you do play them back to back, it is noticeable. This one kind of makes sunny days pop with color and contrast. Like, some of the textures are higher res. The lighting system in particular is pretty fascinating, just for how objects and citizens and light reflects in something like a puddle. And I don't know.
The buildings look a lot cooler. Like
Yeah.
The reflections on the windows, and at night they look, I don't know, glowier.
Yeah, glowier. You kind of get that more ambient lighting. And it's not like, this is not a fully ray traced game. I know a mod. I know I said the word ray tracing, and breaking down what ray tracing is like matters. It depends on like what is being ray traced. In this game, the ray tracing is limited to the screen space, so you're only getting like reflections. It's not simulating the light of the entire world. It's just simulating the light and objects reflecting on objects within the actual screen space, what you see. But it's still like, it's more than what was there to begin with. It kind of makes, if you play the original GTA 5 and then play this right after, the original kind of looks more like a cartoon, just kind of flatter, pastel-y colors. And that's, for 2013 looks fine, but I think this is it's very pretty. Guess what kind of frame rate hit it gives you though, Tyler?
Pretty big one. I would expect cutting it in half, maybe.
Yeah, that's about right. So with my hardware, a RTX 2080, i9 9900K, 32 gigs of RAM, The original game, and this is 1440p. The original game runs at a nice like 120 FPS with everything cranked up, which is pretty darn good because it's not like the most optimized game to begin with. Turn this mod on and on the ultra settings, and you're gonna drop to. I was dropping to like 40, between 40 and 50.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And this is, by the way, am I correct that it's not out yet and is
Yes.
just an early access version?
Yes. So you have to right now if you want access to it, you have to hit up the modders Patreon, and I have links to it. What's the modder's name? I'm forgetting here. I have it right here. Raised. It's patreon.com/raised-mods, RAZEDMODS. You have to join the $10 tier to get the mod right now, but a pre-release is in the works. It's going to come out. It's just, this is like
right.
For a lot of these folks.
Yeah, you have to be part of the Patreon to get early access to it, but it'll, as all other mods for GTR, will be a free release at some point in the future.
And there's an older version of this mod already out there. Not as feature heavy. It's not going to be as pretty, but unless you're eagle-eyed, you probably won't really notice. Again, this is for the hardest core, the hardcore, who just like things looking as pretty as possible, despite the performance hit. All right, that kind of covers. I think that's kind of the go-to visual overhaul mod. There are tons and tons of tiny little tweaks you can make and change using other mods to the look of the world. That's kind of like a good umbrella one to start with, I think. Let's move on to this is wild. This is where GTA modding gets weird and still ambitious. Have you heard of complex control?
I've read a little bit about it.
Yeah.
According to the mod page, it is hardcore, and it is Royale Light, whatever that means, and it's also a roguelite. So there's a lot of terms flying at me already.
Yeah, it kind of feels like there's a lot of words you get in press releases that immediately go to the immediately get archived. Roguelite, single player. No, this is a really cool single player overhaul. It sounds multiplayer when you read about it, but this is just it is. You play as avatars. I'll just read this description because I've touched this mod. I have not gotten deeply into it. But you play as avatars, your special units equipped with like a teleportation ability. You get 3 unique abilities. Your avatars are procedural. They're never the same. They're procedurally generated names, but what that means is just like you get a word and a word slammed together. The one they have as an example here is parallel moist, TE, I guess. And every time you start up a new character, you get like different weapon kits. So it's got that roguelike vibe. If you just want to like run through GTA against a bunch of sort of challenging combat scenarios with randomly generated characters, and there are so many tools within GTA and weapon types, and it's a sandbox game, so the action often goes in unexpected directions, combined with physics and just the space, the vehicles, the everything from jetpacks to helicopters, boats. I think it's kind of like it's a nice layer of replayable, the closest you can get to like arcade score chasing in GTA, especially if you just like the action.
For people who want to load up GTA and actually play a game of some sort, as opposed to just making it look really good and then making nice videos of their cars and how good it looks, which is, I think a lot of the energy in GTA goes toward.
Definitely. It's kind of like
you can also shoot stuff in that game.
Absolutely.
A lot of people don't know that there are guns.
I recommend this mod for the type of person who just loves to kind of run up their star level and just kind of like see how long they can last. It kind of just gives structure and variety to that kind of player, and that's neat. The next mod I want to talk about is sort of like it's a throwback mod. If there are things you miss from older GTA games you want brought back in, the Gang and Turf mod it was sort of a prophetic thing in GTA San Andreas. Do you remember what this was? This system, this open world system?
Yeah, vaguely. I know it's been done in a few different games, but you can like recruit gang members,
Yes.
right, and set up a whole turf war.
Yeah, it's basically like the map is overlaid with different colors designating territories from different gang members. And when you pass through those areas, you have a higher chance of being attacked if it's an opposing gang, sort of running into trouble. And if you sort of take down the gang and in that area, take back control of that zone, then your gang will populate it and defend you if you run into trouble within your territory. It's just kind of like it's for the person who's really satisfied by like Ubisoft open world systems, I think.
I was gonna bring up Assassin's Creed.
Definitely. Because I like cleaning up maps and sort of reclaiming territory. And there was a whole I think this kind of thing, I don't know if GTA San Andreas was like the first game to sort of apply that like top level I don't know how to describe it, like map reclamation system, or I don't know, that you saw in every Ubisoft game, even like stuff like Flower. There was a whole 3 or 4 years where there were a bunch of games about like bringing color back to the world.
Yeah, you gotta put the color in the world,
Yeah.
and that's how it's happy again.
Yep. And it feels good. And this is sort of like that. But it's also, if you like just kind of ongoing, persistent goals to chase, if you just kind of like pop into GTA and you like running around and sort of just like, you don't necessarily want to play any story missions, but you want some sort of self-directed goal, I think this is a fun one. If you're like, all right, I'm going to reclaim this portion of the map for my gang, and you get some combat in front of you, you get a bunch of like AI folks with you, you get some shooting without much thinking. And I think GTA is best. Like I hate Rockstar single player mission design before Red Dead 2.
Pretty bad.
Because it doesn't embrace the open world chaos too well. And this kind of game does, or this kind of mod does. So that's why I like it. That's why I like it. Next one is more of like just a quality of life mod that I think it doesn't ever hurt to have, especially if you're sort of just at the end game, or you just like, if you like collecting cars, if you like just having a hub from which to leap off into any sort of activity in GTA that you're feeling that day. The Marlow Valley Safe House / Airport mod just gives you a house, which is already a fantasy to me. Owning a house, I can't even imagine what that's like.
That's pretty wild. Imagine that. It's a big house too, and it's got a helipad, and it's got a landing strip, a runway that's like precariously positioned on the edge of a cliff.
Yeah.
It must look pretty cool landing on that, actually.
It's got like some kind of Avengers vibes or something, like superhero base, or just obscenely rich monster vibes. But it just slaps a safe house, big ass safe house on top of a mountain, and gives you safe houses in GTA 5 let you save cars and vehicles that you find. So if you treat cars like Pokemon, which will be bringing Pokemon back up in a second, then I don't know, it's just a good hub to have. Just very simple.
Yeah. There's a nice patio with 2 pool tables on it, and that's how you know you're wealthy, when you can have outdoor pool tables that are
and it's
being ruined by the weather. You don't care.
No, it's populated with NPCs too, so it looks like you have friends, which is nice.
A bunch of hanger-ons who
want your money.
Yeah, they just kind of leech off of your wealth and hang out in your theme park of a house. It's really the dream. I mean, I hope I can buy that many friends one day.
Me too. The American dream. And the next mod is just like it represents the silly arm of GTA 5 mods, just the obscene and surreal, meme pop culture-y nonsense that you see in the scene, and that's the Pokeball mod. There are many of these. We'll make sure we link you to the right one, but this one literally lets you, well, catch people with Pokeballs, and then they fight for you when you release them. So it's basically like a really, really ridiculous way to turn NPC AI to your side. Genie in a bottle.
Pokemon really had something with the concept of throwing a ball at things to catch them. I don't know why that's so satisfying. It's like it combines like, I don't know, trying to like bean someone with a baseball, which I guess would be satisfying if you didn't like them, with then also, you know, capturing them and
total subjugation. Just like,
yeah, it's just bizarrely violent, but pretty satisfying.
And the center of a children's show and video game. But hey,
Pokemons are friends with their Pokemon trainers.
Exactly.
So it's okay.
This mod is just like silly fun. I don't know. And it again, like if you go down this rabbit hole, you'll find tons and tons of mods that have unique purposes like this, purely for just basically the sake of it. That references pop culture and anything you can think of, really.
I really love in the mod description where it says you get 6 balls, and as of now, there is no way to get more. It just feels
Shit.
very serious. You get 6,
and only 6.
Use them wisely.
Oh God. Next mod I think is it's going to sound like a reference to Half-Life 2, but it really is just, you know, Half-Life 2 just figured out that physics is fun. The gravity gun mod just gives you a gravity gun in GTA 5.
That's the best part of Half-Life 2, so if that's its primary legacy, I think that's fine and fair.
Yeah. And I mean, hell, do you want to like just see, if you want to point at a car and shoot it across, I don't know, the street into the sky, you can do that now, and that's fine. That's up to you. That's the mod. It's just, I think it reminds me of being a kid in playing like GTA Vice City, San Andreas, and sort of like doing everything in my ability to enact chaos and like make shit fly and make shit explode. And this is basically just exercise for that impulse in a very big way.
Yeah. It's a tool for chaos. Yeah, it's definitely GTA is always about trying to like, you know, putting on the low gravity cheat and just trying to get all the cops to chase you as fast as they can so that they take off and flip through the air and explode and stuff.
Absolutely.
That's what the game's about, in my opinion.
It really is.
It's not a story missions are. Who plays those?
I did. I don't know why. We'll run through a couple more here. This one is just flavor, I think, and I don't know, some kind of like modder-made retribution for all of the amazing updates, the cool updates that are going to GTA Online that the single player doesn't get, and maybe sensibly sometimes, right? Because it's a multiplayer environment, you can't really slot the cool stuff into a single player environment. This is the After Hours single player mod, and if you don't know what the After Hours DLC, or excuse me, update for GTA Online was, it was you're a DJ and you run a club at night, and there's there's a couple systems within that, like in terms of making money and like pleasing the crowd. This one is not as robust. It's more flavor. You know, obviously they can't just like port over all the systems from that into the single player, but now you can go to a club and you can be a DJ and you can change the music on the fly, and that's just kind of a nice flavorful touch, I think, for the single player. Tyler, did you ever have aspirations of being a DJ?
Yeah, very briefly.
Yeah.
When I was like maybe 23.
How far did you get?
Like the year I was 23, maybe. Not very far. I went to some other people's DJ sets, but I myself never DJ'd for anything. There's something appealing about being able to go to a club in a game without having to actually go to a club.
Yeah.
Which it's always like a more disappointing experience than you think it's going to be. Like it's fun, but then I don't know. There's like a weird smell, and
the smell.
by the end of it, you just don't really want to be there. But in a video game, it's just easier.
Yeah, just get the idealist club experience.
Yeah.
Without the actual club. And hey, we can't go to the club right now and for a while anyway.
Yeah.
So
good point.
what the hell?
I know, it's just driving me crazy because I was at the club all the time.
I know, Tyler.
This.
Don't even get me started.
Practically every night, I had my little roped off VIP section.
Bottles on
all the all the clubs out here in the suburbs of Central California. Yeah.
Oh baby, don't I know? I miss the club. Can't wait to go back.
That's right.
Oh, speaking of the club. Here's the final mod, Big Goose. And let me ask you, Tyler, you wanted to be a DJ once, so I know you also wanted to be a Big Goose at some point in your early 20s. Well, guess what? You can now be a Big Goose in Grand Theft Auto.
It was right after the DJ phase.
Yeah, it's a natural.
Big Goose.
Yeah.
It's everyone goes through it. You young folks, you'll be talking all about it in a little while. But something is really disturbing to me about a goose riding a bicycle for some reason. I guess that it doesn't have arms to hold the handlebars with, so it's just balancing.
I don't know, the leg, the bone structure, just kind of like contorting to work on a thing made for a human. The torso kind of like just, I don't know, embedding itself into the handlebars. It's disturbing.
Yeah. I really like the way it uses weapons. It does like swing them, but really it seems to be just like body checking people with its breast.
I
think
it does look like that.
Yeah. Animals wreaking havoc is a very, very, robust, popular PC tradition. At this point, you had like Goat Simulator. You also have, what is it? The Untitled Goose Game.
Exactly. And the upcoming Man-Eater. Speaking of which, you can be you can probably be all of those animals in this game. There's a great shark mod for GTA 5 as well.
Look, Chris played that, and he had some great gifs. Mm-hmm.
I especially love, just one more comment on this goose, is like, it's really endearing when it holds a gun. The gun just kind of floats next to it and fires. It's pretty horrifying, but if you just want to chuckle for a while and just look, it's just like it props up the already absurd like sandbox chaos of GTA. And if you just want to add a couple more chuckles and layers of absurdity to it, then
part of why it works, and maybe why Untitled Goose Game also works, is that a goose's like only facial expression to me is a sort of self-satisfied, smug sort of, I don't know, uncaring grin. So when he's like just mowing people down with like a machine pistol, it is inherently funny what his face looks like, and it just geese just seem really pleased with themselves all the time. I don't know what it is.
They are.
Yeah, they're just like really happy to be geese and not you. I feel judged by them, but
and you know what? Maybe they're onto something. Maybe we should listen for once and
try living the goose life.
Yeah. Oh, now the goose is getting in a cop car. That's good. Great mod. Yeah, this is just like skimming the surface. Hopefully each mod kind of gives you, the listener, an indication of what else is out there, because there is a ton, a shitload, I might say, of mods to dig through. Again, you can go to pcgamer.com and look at our best GTA mods list for a full list. I do want to mention one more actually before I go. It's a bit more for the hardcore, but 5M. You know what 5M is, Tyler?
I've heard of 5M. Yes.
This is for. I only mention it at the end briefly because if you're getting started in GTA 5, this is probably not like a starter must mod. But 5M, Google it. Look up our stories. Joe Donnelly's excellent GTA 5 role-playing diaries. This is one of those mods that enables multiplayer on customized, dedicated servers that enables role-playing and allows you to connect to role-playing servers. And I think that's maybe some more next-level shit, but it is next-level shit for a reason. It's amazing the stories that come out of the role-playing scene.
Yeah. You got to be like more dedicated to it and willing to sort of play with other people with voice chat and everything and play a role. But Joe's articles about his role playing adventures they make me wanna get in there too, and pretend to be a I don't know. He started a cult once. That was pretty good.
It's all sorts of crazy shit. It just makes me wish I was creative and fun, but you can't mod a human, can't mod a personality.
Oh no! The only thing I couldn't mod was me. I just wanted to be like a goose. But...
Oh no, can't be a goose. Well, you know what? Hey, biotech, give us a couple 50 years, some like weird corporate dystopic action, and lack of ethics, and hey, maybe. We'll see. Maybe human geese are in our future. One more caveat is playing a lot of these mods on GTA Online is not okay, and Rockstar might issue a ban. So
be careful.
Do some research. Make sure you know how to delineate the two modes and like the mods, and how to keep them relegated to single player, and you'll be fine. Single player is fine, multiplayer no go. But anyway, that's our basic overview. We could go on forever and ever and ever and ever and ever, but we can't. We won't. We'll spare you. But Tyler, thanks for being here and chatting mods with me, reacting to geese, reacting to Pokemon.
To chat mods and geese and Pokemon. So anytime.
Yeah, those are my 3 favorite things. But that's the PC Gamer Show for this week. You can catch us Thursday, Friday at pcgamer.com/tag/podcast, youtube.com/pcgamer for the VOD. You can go to iTunes. You can go to, do they call it iTunes anymore? They call it Apple Podcasts or something. Find the show on there. You can go to Spotify, find the show on there. Just search the PC Gamer Show. The RSS feed is on pcgamer.com/tag/podcast. Anywhere else you want to listen to us, you can find us. We're out there. And if you like us, leave a little review. And we'll say thank you silently to no one when we see that. But that's going to do it for this week. Expect a lot of like weird, random game announcements, I guess, sporadically over the next however many years this summer will last. It's going to be a lot of interesting stuff.
It's going to be like stuff every weekend and throughout the week, I think. So it's just take E3 and stretch it out, and try to imagine what that'll feel like. And that'll be the summer.
I will say, and I can't speak in detail, but we got to see some things regarding what's going to go down for the PC gaming show this year. Excuse me. And it's going to be pretty fun. It's going to be pretty neat. So be sure to, is that June 6th? That weekend of June 7th? Something like that?
It is the 6th. That is correct.
Yeah.
Saturday, June 6th. There's some pretty fun stuff planned that you'll see us teasing it now and then on the PC Gamer Twitter account.
Yeah.
But keep looking out for more details, and it should be pretty fun.
Well, until next week, that's going to do it for us. And just, I guess, don't forget to what? Don't forget to what?
Like and subscribe.
Oh my God, Tyler. Game on. Don't forget to game on.
Oh, that's right.
It's okay. It's been a while. I'll forgive that one.